Ready?
Yep.
And we're rolling. Good evening, everybody. It's Farm to the Show. We're back. It's Chris Dickerson, Disabled List Hall of Famer, joined by my longtime buddy and pal. You know him by now, Mr. Paul Janish, man as deep as the ocean, lover of all things Chex Mex and crossword. We're going to get straight into it. Paul, it's Wednesday and pretty big weekend. Not just around the league. We've seen some teams kind of make a statement over the weekend, but what is there's one stat that came out of Major League Baseball this past weekend, and it's a very positive sign of what's happening around baseball right now with the fans.
Yeah, we got people in the seats, Dickie. At the end of the day, that's what it's about, and it's fun to see, man. I think it's great. To your point, I think it's a tremendous barometer for where the game is, man. They're coming back out. Whether or not there was a little bit of a lull after COVID and what have you. I think the brand of baseball is as good as it's been in a long time, which is exciting. And the people are speaking with their ticket sales, so it's exciting to see. And that's as we know with the summer coming, the fans are going to continue to come out once school gets out and things of that nature. The summer's always a good time, so I think it's great. I'm sure MLB is excited about it. I'm sure there's a bunch of variables too with the rule changes, the quicker games, the more offense, all the stuff, man. There's a lot going on that goes into that. But at the end of the day, the fans are coming out, and that's what it's about.
And this isn't just a post-COVID thing. This is a 6 year high. This is dating back to 2017, and I think it says a lot. Not just rebounding, but this is something. This is a new age, and I think we've discussed this early on one of the first shows is about the rule changes, and now we're seeing the response to that. And going to games is just being locked in for 2 hours. There was a 2 hour 5 minute game the other day. Pitching battle between Shane Bieber and Verlander in Cleveland, New York. It's 2 hours 5 minutes. The players love it. They're getting home to get dinner, to play with their kids, to see them go to sleep. Much more family time, but the fans, usually just go there to hang out. You go, you get your food, you get your beer, you sit down, you watch the game. If you get up and go hang around, take a little brisk walk around the ballpark, you're gonna miss 3 innings right now. But it's great for everybody. You're not leaving that ballpark and having to go get fast food. You can actually go to a nice restaurant after some of these Wagos, and I think everybody's fired up about it.
No, for sure, man. And it's a cheaper outing. If you're not at the ballpark as long, you can't spend as much money. So, those are positives for the fans, man.
Huge fans. You can't have these little youngins out there for 3 hours eating hot dogs or half a hot dog and then come back 3 innings later saying that they're still hungry and they want to get ice cream. Save yourself $17 right there by getting out there and get back home and get some snackies.
No, for sure, man. No, but at the end of the day, it's good. Like I said, MLB's got to be fired up about it. The like I said, the games is in a great place, which is exciting. That's why we have the opportunity to be on the show to talk about it.
Um, and like you said, it's an exciting brand of baseball. There are big storylines right now with we've had some surprises this year. We've had some disappointments, but all in all, we have some new faces at the top of a lot of different leaderboards. We have Tampa just crushing it. And then lo and behold, who do we have the second best record? I guarantee people that are watching this right now, if I were to ask you who has the second best record in the MLB without you looking at your phone, I guarantee you're not going to get it right. But I can tell you that jersey is hanging in the background right now.
Yeah, no, the Orioles are real, man. I think they may be like a year ahead of where a lot of the internal people in baseball thought they might be with regards to their minor league system is stacked. They got some really good young players coming. I'm just not sure anybody thought that it was going to happen this quick. That being said, man, they're playing in the AL East where there's nowhere to hide. And to your point, they got the second best record in baseball, and they have a bunch of really good young players. I love Cedric Mullins, I'm going to go with Adley Rutschman as maybe like the new Buster Posey type player, right? Like a real catcher presence, offensive player. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Um, Dicky just put his old Orioles hat on. Looks like we got some pine tar on there too, which is
Oh yeah,
appreciated.
this is straight
Don't
out
let don't
2013.
don't let Phil Cuzzy check your hands, please, or you will be ejected from the Wago. Um, that being said, man, the Orioles are real. I'm curious to see how it goes with regards to their pitching over the course of the season. That's the one thing that in that ballpark
Starting
is
pitching,
they're that's right.
starting
Starting pitching
pitching.
in particular, they're gonna have to to endure the season. They're gonna have to stay healthy. They got a couple of guys that have never really quite done it yet, but they're doing really really well. So it they're in a great spot, man. I'm sure that organization and that fan base is excited about what's going on. You and I can both attest. I'm not sure there's a better place to play in terms of the ballpark, the fan, the whole feel of Camden Yards. It's just a one of the best places in baseball, in my opinion.
No, 100%. It's probably my favorite place to play. I mean, I played at Yankee Stadium, but you and I both know, and I'm not sure that you were called up early enough in 2008 to play that interleague series when y'all went to New York for the old Yankee Stadium. But me spending multiple seasons there, being able to ride my bike from home around the marina, around the bay, but going back into the opposite exit under Dempsey's and going in the factory and kind of taking a skateboard, riding my bike through there. It's fascinating, coming through the depths of that ballpark. But Friday night, Saturday, black unis. That place is packed. I mean, it's an amazing place, and there's a reason that most of these modern ballparks are modeled after Camden, because it's a truly special place. And now they got the bird bath going out there. Like it's a spot right now, and it's good for
Yeah,
baseball. It's good for the AL East these continued rivalries, and that's really what we want to see as fans. We want to see, and I think a lot of that where we see this attendance jumps is teams that have been going through these rebuilding phases. They have exciting teams, an exciting product on the field, and those fans are starting to come back.
yeah, for sure, man. It's to your point about the bird bath and things of that nature. They're feeling the flow, doing the bull dance. I like it. It's going to be a fun summer in Baltimore. I think for the first time in a while, those fans are pretty fired up.
Yeah, on the flip side of things, NL Central not doing so well. I don't think there's a powerhouse in there. I think it's one of the most average. I think it's probably one of the most disappointing um, divisions in baseball right now. I mean, the Cubs, the Cardinals, the Pirates have kind of tailed off a little bit. The Brewers are in there. They're dealing with some injuries right now. And then, you got some teams in the cellar that are really struggling. But that St. Louis, they've had a little bit of a turnaround at 7-3 over their last 10, taking 2 or 3 from the Dodgers, which was huge. They've been putting up big runs on the board. Paul DeJong has come out of nowhere. He's got 8 homers and like 86 at bats. So he's always been a piece. He signed a multi-year deal, got demoted down to AAA. He's come back, and I think his numbers, along with what they've been with there's there was a minor correlation to Goldschmidt, Arenado, these guys getting hot, DeYoung getting hot. They're putting runs on the board. I think it's just, again, it's a matter of pitching, which they've really struggled with this year. So I think that division in itself is a disappointment for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at my top 10 teams right now, and I don't have an NL Central team in there. I think the Brewers, for me, if I had to pick right now, I think they win that division. I think the Cubs are a year away. I really like what they're doing from the middle of the field standpoint. They got some young guys coming up as well, but I just don't think they're quite there yet. I do shout out to David Ross. I played with David, great guy. I think the Cubs organization with the new GM and Carter Hawkins is 100% going in the right direction. But that being said, for me at the top of the list, I got the Rays. We've talked about them. They're not slowing down. I got the Dodgers in there and the Braves. For me, the top three right now, kind of overall of baseball. I think those are three of the most complete teams that we've seen up to this point in the season. And like we're talking about, injuries are going to play a factor down the stretch throughout the summer. We know that the trade deadline's coming. Some of these teams are going to have the ability to add pieces, but and then the next couple teams for me are still in the AL East. I got Baltimore and the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees have dealt with injuries up to this point in the season, and they're right there, man. We see what Judge is doing. He's on fire, hitting game winning, game tying homers late in games off of closers. I mean, he is who he is, man. And he's talk about the captain of the Yankees. He's doing exactly what you expect him to do right now.
Yeah, 100%. Judge is, he's earning that captain's band right now. He's doing everything that's expected of him. The numbers that he has right now. I mean, he's hitting like 386 over his last 15, 7 homers. But it's not just it's not just that he's hitting the homers. It's when he's hitting these homers that are clutch, that are keeping that entire team afloat right now. Rizzo on the back end is having a sneaky good season. He's hitting something like 317. So there are a lot of good hitters. There are a lot of good players, but as we know, like that AL division is stacked. Like the transition of power to one division is significant. As you've seen, they're playing 60. I think their winning percentage out of division games is like 667, which is absurd. They've won like 107
Yeah.
games, which is I mean, it's like 40 more games over than any other division. It's amazing what that division is doing. Rizzo, Anthony Volpe, which is huge, is getting his feet wet. Had the walk off the other day.
Yep.
But again, and then let's not sleep on Texas. They paid a king's ransom to bring those guys in, and it wasn't a matter of it wasn't they brought them in to compete, and now we're seeing the fruits of their labor right now. Seager's back healthy, Simeon's doing his thing, but the big surprise is Roldis. And what he's doing right now, he's on pace to have like 176 RBIs and 50 homers right now.
Yeah, Garcia's he's swinging the bat. Dude, they're leading the league in runs, man. The offense is real. It's not going to go anywhere. I am curious to see how the pitching unfolds. They're doing what they're doing, and DeGrom's been hurt for a portion of the season, and I'm sure that was to some degree to be expected. That's been part of his career. But you got Nathan Eovaldi is, I mean, for the last month has been maybe the best pitcher in baseball. Dude, he's got 3 complete games. He's throwing the ball really well. They got Will Smith at the end of the game, shutting it down, the big lefty. So they've got some pieces that are already there. They're established. For me, the biggest question mark there is going to be the health of Jacob DeGrom, because he's one of the guys in Major League Baseball that can just be a lights out guy, right? It's a huge addition. They need him to get healthy. I know he threw a pin here a couple days ago. I think he's on his way back. So hopefully that ends up being a blip on the radar and he's good the rest of the year. But the Rangers are real, man. That being said, they got the Astros nipping on their heels again. Astros kind of started off slow. They got Altuve back in the lineup. They lost last night to end I think an 8 or 9 game winning streak. But that division is going to shape up with those two teams at the top, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eovaldi is one of those guys. I think when we're talking about surprises right now and what's happening, you got to look at who's the top 5 ERA leaders, and Eovaldi's one of those where it's guys that just weren't expected. Just weren't expected. Look at National League and American League, but across the board, Alex Cobb, the kid from Chicago. It's
Steele.
yeah, Steele is a steal right now. What he's been able to do on the mound. These guys are really kind of the backbone. Even Mitch Keller in Pittsburgh. It's like you look at the
Heck
top
yeah.
5. It's these guys that lead the league in quality starts. Obviously, with Shane McClanahan, will eventually, the way he's going right now, will be back-to-back AL All-Star game starter. So again, really exciting stuff there that these teams have these emerging, not necessarily emerging, but the Alex Cobb is, we've talked about that, the salty veteran coming back and reemerging, but a lot of the young talent, you would have never guessed. We would have never had this conversation and be able to predict these top 5 guys on the leaderboard right now. But what do you have for top hitters right now?
So let's do a little deal. If you could start an organization with a young hitter right now, who would it be? And for me, at the top of that list is Ronald Acuna in Atlanta. From a total player standpoint, I mean, I get offensively, I think he's hitting like 330. He's got a bunch of homers, he's got a bunch of stolen bases, and he's what I would describe as an elite defender. I know he's playing right field most of the time right now, maybe playing some center, but if I'm starting to just with the offensive ability, he's number 1 on my list. I'm going to go with Juan Soto. as another one. I know he's already had a career in Washington, been traded to San Diego. You feel like he's been around forever. He's 24 years old, man. Okay, like he's a little bit ahead of the curve now. Okay, big, strong, left-handed power bat. Throws people out from right field. For me, it's those two are at the top of the list. I do like Adley in Baltimore, like we talked about. Just again from a total player standpoint, if I'm starting an organization and I got that kind of guy who I think is going to turn into what have a Buster Posey type career, that's tough for me to pass out at that or pass up at that position. Tell me what you got. What are you thinking?
I mean, right now, I think it's unavoidable. You can't not mention we're talking about kids that are slightly ahead of the curve. Vladdy Jr. also,
Mm.
it seems like he's been around forever since he hit the walk-off in the exhibition game in Montreal. And now, he's MVP. He's back in the MVP conversation again. But people, again, like I think Vladdy's getting a lot of the pub, but Bo Bichette, Mr. Flow, Captain L, Mr. L Flow. He's in three. God, he's hitting 317, 330. I mean, they're raking. So I mean, there name two better bats in the lineup right now. I would be up there with maybe Judge and Rizzo, but I mean that 1-2 combination right now, and those two are really young. And I think that's how you build around. And I think when you're talking about that trade deadline, that's going to be interesting because I think that they're going to be in the market for some lineup fillers that they can go out and get a big piece to surround those two with. And so I think both of those is going to be something to keep our eye on when you're talking about MVP, early MVP candidates. Vlad's in there too, and Bichette is is kind of picking up the rear with that lineup to go along with Chapman, who is a veteran piece that was added, who's having a career rebound year right now. So super exciting again.
Love what they're doing. Love what they're doing in Toronto. I love those guys. Just like you said, pitching is going to be their issue if they're starting pitching in particular. I love Laddie. The only thing for me is he plays first base, which look there's nothing wrong with. But if you're if you're talking about some of the best young ones in the game that you might start with, it's just tough to not take those guys that play a little bit more of a premier defensive position. But make no mistake, dude, Vladdy can play on my team any day of the week. Bichette too, for that matter.
Yeah, and another young hitter. I love watching Arias. I think it's I think it's old school. I've been looking at like a lot of Tony Gwynn stats and what he did just from like pure contact, and I think that there's such an
Mm.
art to what he does. His strikeout rate is absurd. It's like 4%. But him bat on ball, like to do it that consistently, I think gets overlooked. Yeah, these guys be able to do it with more power, but hitting 370 in the show with dudes throwing 100 miles per hour on the daily is exceptional. And we're not going to go as far to say that could he be the first one to hit 400. I don't think that's going to happen. It's May. We're going into June, but 370 clip right now is absolutely incredible.
Yep.
Using all fields, but the balls that he hits, if you've paid attention, I mean, he covers everything. There's nothing he can't hit.
The bat to ball is unique in this day and age, man. He's a winning player. Okay, that's what he's going to end up being over the course of his career as a winning player. The Tony Gwynn comp is tremendous. I'm mad that I didn't think about it myself. But the bat to ball in this day and age, to your point, with the level of pitching depth and velocity is just impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the guys that are coming out of the bullpen. The two kids that are they're coming out of the bullpen in Baltimore, and I think going back to that, if they're going to be able to sustain that, I think with those two guys pulling up the rear is excellent. But the guys are absolutely filthy. You look at the guys that are the top 10 of saves, and when you watch them pitch, you're just like, I'm so glad that I don't have to do this. Like I'm glad that I'm retired, so I don't have to face Clase, and I don't have to face Hater.
Yeah, no, they're tough, man. The game ain't getting easier. That's for sure, and that's why the fans are coming out and watching them live and in color, which is again going back to the beginning is fun to see and good for everybody involved.
All right, now we're going to send this over to a clip with our friend, world's greatest teammate, arguably Johnny Gomes. Check out this clip from last week when we had him on the show.
I'm in the data world, believe it or not, just a dumb baseball guy in the data world, ball tracking. with Yacker Tech, similar to like Hawkeye in the big leagues, like when you're watching StatCast. We take it downstream in a college, junior college, high school. And to me, that's every player's report card these days. Not only is it every kid's report card, but it's the easiest way for that kid in North Dakota that throws 94, but his spin is 2,800. What does that mean? Well, you don't have to know what it means. Everyone else knows what it means, right? It's that kid that hits a ball 470, up in Portland in the rain when no one was there, right? No one saw it. Well, now we can see it with, ball tracking, and that being the Yacker Tech system. Parlayed with Baseball Cloud, which is basically like any team sabermetric department all the way downstream. You don't have to be in the big leagues to have sabermetric department. When you talk about numbers, that's player development, and that's winning.
No doubt. The baseball crowd's cool with you. I know you and KD have connected on that, and that product is a cool product, man. And you're right. It brings a higher floor, so to speak, of what people have access to, even if you're not in Fenway Park, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, this day and age, I love the player development for it. And now, like in college, Paul, you know this best, there's a thing called a transfer portal. So you don't have time to groom these dudes. Like, you got to win tonight and you got to win this year. So there's a time and a place that you have to develop players. But if I'm looking at this pitcher and every time he throws a changeup, the slug is 800. Right. And every time, he throws a fastball in the outer half, it's a ball. How about just those two tools right there can totally overhaul a pitcher for tonight?
Yep.
And then the offensive side, let's hunt that changeup, right? That's data. That is weaponizing yourself and performance enhancing. And it's probably the only thing in baseball right now that can be instant gratification. You got a dude that steps out to the mound right now and he throws 46% balls. Well, guess what, man? Just take. You're going to find yourself on first base. He's going to throw 4 balls before he throws 3 strikes. There's a lot of those. So it's really cool educating guys on the numbers. At the same time, it's, who touches the dish more than the other team's going to win. But let's give ourselves as many tools as we can to do that.
JG, real quick, while we're talking about data, while we're talking about results, you got one of my favorite analytical-driven quotes. I don't know if you remember this or not. You were a big fan of worrying about the stats that go up, not real worried about the ones that go up and down. And I think that there's some I know we're joking about analytics and whatnot, but there's some pretty profound in that statement with regards to, hey, it's about scoring runs. And that, we're talking about the Rays, we're talking about some of those other teams. And I think that statement actually carries some weight regardless of the time frame in which you're playing,
Yeah, I think there's, there's actually quite a few departments that are going to break down numbers. But the one thing that you really have to do is stay within your arena, right? You're a player. And you're going to drive yourself nuts looking at your OPS and looking at your batting average and your on base. And, any stat with a dot in front of it is an average, right? Which means it's going to go up and it's going to go down. And you're probably going to watch it a lot more when it's going down. But if you can just worry about the numbers that only go up as a player in the player arena, that's going to help you with some sleepless nights. And let's just get some hits. Let's score some runs. Let's get some RBIs. Let's hit the ball over the fence to change the score, to get a run scored, to get RBIs all in one swing. So I was always a big advocate of just worrying about numbers that go up, not numbers that go up and down.
Good stuff from Johnny right now, one of our all-time favorites. And we're looking forward to having him back on the show later this season. This is Farm to the Show. Chris Dickerson, Paul Janish. We're out.